Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to try and fix this iPad. This is by far the newest thing I have ever worked on, so the chances of me messing this up are very high. Let me show you why we're messing with this thing. If I take my regular cell phone and I plug it into my kilowatt here, we see the amperage reading say something like 0.2 amps. That means it's charging, like it says. Now what if I take this iPad and I plug it into the kilowatt? Nothing happens. Oh, well. Okay, nothing happens. If I try to turn it on, we get the dead battery sign, and then it says maybe it's plugged in, but again, no current draw. About 3 years ago, I paid about 40 bucks for this iPad on eBay. It had a bad charge port. I cannot connect to this thing with a computer, but I had been able to charge it with a cable by doing some weird stuff, and now I just can't get it to charge anymore. And 3 years ago, I bought the charge port on eBay, some solder flux, some wick, and some fancy tools. And now it's time to finally try to do this. I've been putting it off long enough. If you're following along to do this for your 6th gen iPad, let me be clear. I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I'm going off of YouTube tutorials and I'm just making my own video. This video is here for entertainment. So if you want to be entertained, see if this works or not, stick around. Let's see what happens. So first things first, we're going to want to start in this corner and start separating this front cover with the rest of the iPad. And apparently you do that with tools that are better than this, and some heat. So I've got this heat gun right here. Let's get it plugged in. And what we'll do is we'll kind of start around here, and then we're going to be careful right here because apparently there's a flex cable for this home button. Then we're going to kind of hinge it right here, open it like a book, backwards, in this country at least. So here goes nothing. And to be clear folks, like, I'm not looking for perfection here. I just scraped up some of the paint. More of that sort of thing is probably about to happen here. Okay, we're just about there, folks. Can I do this carefully? And there it is. The biggest difficulty there was there's a pretty large amount of adhesive right there, and if you look, that flex cable for the home button, it's kind of more on the inside of the machine, not the outside, so not too much to worry about there really. Next thing we gotta do is get the LCD out, and there's gonna be 4 screws. There's one holding it in right there, one holding it in there. Back there it's covered up by that little plastic tab, and then over here this one's covered up a little bit too. Let's start right here. I just remove this right here, and then I can stick my screwdriver in there and start unscrewing. Use the tweezers to remove that. Over here, similar deal. Screw number 3. And the 4th one. Is it under there? Oh yeah. Let's peel that back some. Oops. And now it looks like we just kind of stick a flathead screwdriver underneath those corners where we just pried the screws out, and that is going to release the LCD. This is only a little terrifying. And then we're going to hinge the thing open on this side, starting here. I've got my LCD propped and my touchscreen propped, and now we got to go into here. There's a little cover here. That's some more screws that we need to take off. Come in and get this one. It'd be a pretty big nightmare if you stripped one of these, huh? It's funny, as you undo this, it feels kind of like when you strip a Phillips head screw. But no, you're just undoing it. Apparently this just comes off. There we go. There's our LCD. Next we gotta do a few things to undo the touch screen. First we're gonna go like this and snap off these connectors. Pretty fancy. Then we gotta come in here. We'll remove this piece of tape. I guess we'll save it for later. I moved the camera on you. Apparently, this guy just flips up like so. Gotta pull this tape off, I guess. Okay. Save that for later as well. So at this point you might be wondering, why the heck are we doing all this stuff? It's just the charge port, it's right there. Well, the fun thing about the charge port is that it is soldered directly to the motherboard. So that means we need to remove the entire motherboard, and that means we need to disconnect everything that is connected to the motherboard. I think I'm actually going to remove the touchscreen fully, so that'll make my life easier as we go through this. I'll move that to a safe place. So let's head up here and disconnect this plate here. We're disconnecting like the camera, the microphone, and audio jack. There's one thing. There's some tape back there that you gotta cut. It looks like we got one more right there. We have a small antenna connector in the corner here. Looks like there's some extra bits that are not in the other video I was watching. And then in this back corner we've got the rear camera. Just loosen that just like so. Alright, we're going to flip over to the bottom side of the iPad now. So what we got to do here is undo these antenna cables. Just come in like this real quick. There's one. And there's two. Down here I was slightly out of view, so I'll just say I pulled these out from the connectors right there, and then I yanked this tiny guy as well, but I don't know which of these two is going to go where. So I'm just going to take a Sharpie, and I'm going to color the one that goes out furthest with Sharpie. So I know this one goes right there. And yeah, we'll have to undo a lot of this tape, because the charge port cable is underneath all of this. I believe these brand new tweezers are nice and sharp. Continuing around here, just gonna try to come in here and cut this. And there, that's out of the way. But there's more hidden goodies underneath this tape here. Let me show you. This is where our speaker connectors are. They're on the charge cable. Pull that back. Maybe we can use this again later. And this one already came out, but it was supposed to have the little latch be undone like that. Pull this guy straight out in theory. Just use my finger. So there, that's disconnected. Alright, now here's our big problem area. This is where the charge port actually attaches, and as you can see, you might be able to see, it's pretty loose. I can move that around quite a bit. And people mention, you know, check these screws right here. There's a screw right here and right here, except this one doesn't have the screw. It only has one. Let's just take a look at the one. That just comes right out. So where could that one be? Well, I checked. Here's that touch screen, and there it is, right there. So we're gonna need to reinstall those screws. They say you're supposed to tighten these so that your charge port doesn't go bad. So a little design flaw there on Apple's part. Oh boy, I've never tried to start one of these screws before. Should be real fun. Like that. Yeah, it's not too bad. Pretty crazy how it got completely backed out for the course of its life. Anyways, now it's time to go in and get these two out. These were obviously very important. Hopefully I'm getting that shot. These are going to be so much fun to get back in. Now we gotta spudge this thing out. Undo the glue. Not trap our speaker cables. Luckily, the stakes for removing this part are very low, since it's the part we are going to be replacing. Just a few extra little things. We got the rear camera connector right here. It looks like right here we've got our volume up down buttons. it under like that. Yep, there's that. I think our battery connects right here. Let's take out this screw. Alright, now here's where it's going to get potentially nasty. This motherboard wraps all the way around up to here. It's glued into this assembly, so we gotta just pry it out, and I'm a little nervous about that part, but luckily we've got heat and tools to help us with that. There was one last little tiny antenna connector I missed right there, but I mean, I think I got it. That was only mildly terrifying. I did chip the board right here because I was using metal, but I don't think that's going to be a big deal. By the way, this is a motherboard. Technology is nuts, man. Alright, we've made it to the cool part, I guess. This is a little piece of tape that's sitting on top of the solder joints here. Oh wait, yes, it is a little piece of tape. But I was grabbing the entire cable. Hopefully I didn't just damage anything by doing that. The only way to find that out is to apply some flux here. Like that, I suppose. And then we've got a chisel type tip on here. Maybe a little big for what we're doing. Maybe I should be using non-lead solder, but I'm using lead solder, so let's see what happens. We're gonna just put a gob of solder on there. Try to swish it around a little bit. And then, with enough heat, this should come off. I hope that's in frame. Yep. And there's that. Then we're going to put some more flux on there. I'll tin the iron a little bit. I'll just kind of hang out. And then we're going to want to kind of suck all that up by jamming the wick on top of there. And with that flux, should just kind of wick right up, right? I think I'll do that one more time. Okay, I'll take some IPA, just clean that up. Dare I say that's okay? Wow. I'm going to be absolutely amazed if this is a success. But here's our new one. The way this new one's going to go on is you solder it. Alright, I only get one shot at this, I think. So what we're going to want to do first, now that we've cleaned all this off, is we're going to want to get like a tiny amount of solder on all of the pads. I just taped this to my bench, so that's going to be helpful. We'll just get some flux on there. Then we'll take the iron, get some solder on it, just a little bit though, not too much, and then we'll just kind of move along through here. Just kind of want to get a little bit on each pad, right? And just clean that off again. Now here's the fun part. We gotta get our connector on there. And you see this little dot there, and there's another one down there. There are little windows in this, believe it or not, so that you can line this up. And the connector I bought makes them so they're really, really hard to see. Get some flux on here. Let's see. Here goes nothing. This side? No, we're not. I think I might have gotten a start there. So let's do what they say. They say hold it down with the tweezers as you're going and make all the stuff happen. I'm just kind of grabbing a little bit of solder as I do this. Let's try out the IPA again. I really need a proper IPA dispenser. I'm just dumping it on here. Well, tell you what, folks, it is secured. And yeah, I'm just gonna hope for the best at this point. I don't know what else there is I can do. I don't know how to check continuity on any of those. So we're just gonna throw it back in, see what happens. So we'll cover that right back up. There we are. Alright, there was a little blue piece of stuff like this that I removed down here that had some adhesive, and we'll remove this one to attach it back in here, but first we gotta finagle this thing back in. Apparently it's a good idea to kind of put something between the battery connector and the motherboard during this time, just so we don't have like a bunch of shorting potential. So I think I'll start by shoving this thing back in up in this corner here, and then I can kind of slide in a way. But we gotta make sure we don't pinch any connectors like this one. So I think I'm in position more or less. There are 5 things up here. There's one right there. Okay, I got one by looking straight on. So that means I can probably get this one. Yep, there it was. How about this one? Yep, that felt okay. Okay, there's that. No click though. And this one. There's that. And this one right here. Lost sight of it. Gotta pull that back so that it can be inserted. Is that? Coming down here to the bottom, like I said, we had this little piece of tape on here that we have to remove so that we can adhere. But we need to clear a bunch of stuff like these speaker connectors. Okay, those out the way. Get this thing into its home. Alright, got that. Let's bring our little speaker guys home. We gotta flip up the thing. Shove it in there, lock it down. Same thing over here. Lift up the latch. Yep, there we go. And I'll lock it down. We had this tape here, so we can just put that right back. Flipping you around here, let's see if we can get the screws into charge port here. I'm not looking forward to this. Let's see if I can do it with the tweezers and the screwdriver. Ooh, that was pretty sick. Maybe. Yep, that was cool. You probably didn't see it. Sorry. Let's try that again. Yep, not bad, not bad. Over here, I had caught this thing underneath the cable for the charging port, so I pulled it up and now we can move it back into the connector. That's in now, so let's lock it down. There we go. I think I'll come over here and remove this for the battery. Was it this one? Yeah, this one. And we had two little antennas over here. The one that I marked black goes on the outside, remember? I remember. That's all that matters, really. I've reapplied this little piece of tape right here on this connector, so let's go ahead now and get that screw back in. Now we can take this little metal piece and put it back in place. We had 3 larger screws right here and then 2 smaller screws right there. It took me way too long to realize that this screwdriver is actually magnetic, which really helps. I guess it goes without saying, but no need to over tighten these. I think I'm good up top now. Coming back down here, there's a piece of tape that I ripped off. What am I doing, folks? I've got brand new tape right here. Let's just use the new stuff, huh? There was also some tape between this ribbon and the charge cable, so let's just slide that in there real quick. Didn't quite get it straight, but I will allow it. I'll put some right there as well to keep these cables secure. Okay, we'll put some here too. Keep everything nice and stable, controlled. I think we're ready for the LCD, but actually we're going to start with the touch screen, and I think before I do that I want to give it a nice cleaning on the inside. Get our CRC stand back here. We will put these connectors back on carefully. I just snapped those two back into place. Now we need to get this one back into place. Are we latched? I don't know if we were latched. Whoops. Let's unlatch that. Stick her in and then I'll come down that way. So our touch screen is connected now. If we recall, we take the LCD and that was like this. We can come in and reinstall this connector. Okay, so I just snapped it in. Now I'm going to haphazardly put these screws back in. Now I can carefully set this LCD back in here. It'll get screwed in, but honestly folks, at this point I'm able to test it and I'm feeling a little antsy. How about we do that? What do you think, Hodor? Is it gonna work? Are you enjoying exploring? Hey, what are you doing, big guy? Is that your equalizer? If this worked, when I plug this in, we should see some current draw. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, we got 0.09 amps. Can I turn it on? Oh, look at that. We've got the battery. Well, we did. There. There's the battery. If we wait, this thing will probably turn on. So it charges, but will it work? That's the big question here. Let's just go ahead and wrap up the screws for the LCD. Let's just get those in, because at this point, if it doesn't work, there's nothing more I can do. Then we'll take some of this stuff and just kind of slobber it on some places. Oh, cool. Nice little tip there. And try too hard with that. I mostly just want to be able to get back in here to replace the battery someday or something if possible. This stuff is very stringy. It's pretty obnoxious actually. And half this was filled with air. What the heck? Alright, give her a little clean. Should have done this first, honestly. I use this thing in the kitchen, so works great for cooking. Let's see if we've got enough charge to activate. Nope, still not enough. But that's a huge improvement from what we had before. Folks, I don't believe it. There it is. Yeah. There we go. Does the camera work? Even the camera works. Well, I know who's going to be very happy about this, and that is my awesome wife. I bought this for her 3 years ago to replace our, I think it was like a Gen 2 iPad. It was just getting so slow it wasn't even worth using it anymore. This thing is just fast enough and still gets the job done, even though it's 8 years old at this point. Normally we talk about these things being irreparable, they just want you to throw it away and buy a new one, and yeah, that is true. I mean, you saw what I had to go through to do this. It wasn't exactly easy, but it was possible, so that's pretty cool. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my subscribers, and thank you to my members who get early access to videos, just like this one. I'll see you in the next one.